welcome to the Global Sales Tech Festival. And we know that there is a much bigger auditorium and a much bigger stage, but this is much cozier, don't you think? And today we're going to have a lot of speakers and wonderful topics that I'm sure you're going to be very happy about and you're going to enjoy. The topic is going to be women leading growth in tech innovation. Women, 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 women.
Yes!
And we have our moderator, who is going to be Natalie, Olson-Urtecho, Laura Inés Fernández, Laura Hannois, and Tulia Lopes. And without much ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's so great to be here today. I know that Club Globals have been doing such a great job in trying to get more women and empowering us, right? Every day we have stories and we need to talk about the stories. We need to show everyone that, yes, we can do things, and yes, we can be successful, and yes, we can have more women unicorns, and yes, for sure, we can empower more women to do amazing and different things. So with that ado, we're going to have a conversation. I'm going to have my panelists here introduce themselves and tell a little bit about their story, especially how we do things, right? What is our story that made us passionate about what we started and how were we thinking about going forward? And then we're going to have a great discussion, and I wish that we had more time for questions, but, we'll be here. And so just personally ask us, and, we're always on LinkedIn, social media, and all that. And we're always available because part of our job as successful women is to be able to mentor others. And how my old boss, Barack Obama, used to say, we need to get those ladders of opportunity. Those ladders of opportunity are key for us to get more women up those ladders. So please, Laura.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for being here. My name is Laura Fernández. I'm passionate about building inclusive workspaces. And because of that, 4 years ago, we start developing what today we are offering through my startup. What we do is to check what companies are doing regarding DEI and if it's worthy to keep on going or just take back. And my travel here was, I think that I was a very young entrepreneur at the age of 6 or 7, the first time I did something, and it was really successful. But then life comes up, and that happens, and lead us to different paths. But anyway, through my entire life, I've been related with initiatives in enhancing women in leadership, because if we do not visualize that this is an opportunity, that this is a reality that can be achieved, you may not have that in mind and that not help you to choose that opportunity.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Well, my name is Laura Hannois. I started to be in the technology at the age of 8 years old with my first computer, a Sinclair 2048, many years ago. So I was working all my life in technology. Well, the English is not my mother language, so I would try to speak in Spanish. Siempre trabajé en tecnología, siempre trabajé con hombres. Por lo tanto, considero que es muy importante el tema de la inclusión de la mujer en la tecnología. No me daba cuenta en el devenir diario de que era uno más dentro de la tecnología y no una dentro de la tecnología, no una persona, ¿sí? Por lo cual, todo lo que tenga que ver con innovación y la mujer y la inclusión y la diversidad es muy importante. Era una famosa nerd, una persona que vivía conectada solo con su computadora hasta que comencé a trabajar en British Telecom y empecé a trabajar con personas. Y entonces comencé a notar, y hoy día estoy completamente segura de que lo más importante de la tecnología son las personas. Comprender a las personas, incluir los pensamientos, incluir las diferentes miradas de las personas. Lo más importante que tiene la tecnología no es la tecnología, sino las personas que utilizan y cómo utilizan esa tecnología.
Hi, everyone. I'm Tulia Lopes. I call myself the communication architect because my background is architecture. And one thing that I always praised for having this background, because during the university, one thing we were very much stimulated was to believe that everything that happens here is a driving force for everything I do in life. To believe that once I have an idea, I can make it happen. I never take a no as an answer. For me, a no is just a confirmation that I have to push forward. And for me, this is also an example that I want to give to other women, because we know how difficult, how this world is built by the man and is still for the man. But there's so many women there with a huge potential that they need to just start believing more in themselves. And here I am, someone with a background in architecture who moves into technology in the early 2000s when living in Dublin, Ireland, then moving on to communication and leadership training, and now just recently moving on into developing something with AI. I don't know where I'm gonna go with this, but I'm just having fun, and I want to enjoy and explore, and I believe that today with those ladies here, I'm more as a learner and a listener. Thank you.
I speak very loud. I'm American. I'm sorry. I can do it without the microphone. But so you touched upon AI, right? Everyone is now talking about AI, but we have been, using AI since the 90s, and it's no, we all have in some way or another. A lot of people don't realize that technology and the technology we have today, Google Maps, the post office, we have been able to do that through AI. Now, it was a different name back then. But from your experience, what do you think are some of the futuristic things? What do you think, we've all have been in technology, we've all been working. What do you think are some of the wow things that, besides AI, I mean, we can say about AI and so on, but what are some of the things that we can tell our audience and also empower young girls to think about other industries, to think something within technology that can be useful?
I think that, when we think about technology, we think about developing technology. And this is just one side of the big cake. In general terms, many females, as we, I don't know if you, no, you were born with a laptop behind, in your chest. But we are just intruders in this tech world. We are.
Use the terminology that I love. Thank you.
Yes, I define myself as technotorpe. Because I know very little about technology. I know about what the problem should be solved. And then I just met the most awesome people that I have ever think about and just move forward. And I think that in this way of thinking about how this technology is going to evolve, I don't have the answer, but what I know is different mindsets should be put in the same room to make that happen.
Yeah. So DEI has been in contention right now by my beautiful, wonderful president. But, yes, no comment. But,
No, I am Argentinian.
Yeah, so, but, from a DEI perspective, I think when I see something that is not working, I always turn it around and say, you know what, now I can create real applications on DEI where people can do other things, can actually push their frontier, not allow for governments to decide who and what. So it's always an opportunity in that sense. There's an opportunity in some of the things that are difficult and so on. So tell me, Laura.
Okay. Mi opinión es que la inteligencia artificial estará involucrada en todos los ámbitos y creo que nos vamos a tener que enfocar cada uno en lo que consideramos más importante. Creo que no podemos estar en todo, pero sí creo que hay un común denominador que es la educación. Creo que cuanto antes debe ser incorporado. Y hay un tema bastante particular, porque quienes enseñan son personas que tienen 40 años, 30 años, que están lejos de la tecnología. Entonces es muy importante capacitar a una generación que no está naturalizada con la IA, explicar los diferentes tipos de IA que hay, pero ser bien prácticos para que esos niños, ¿sí?, que ya están naturalizados con la IA, finalmente aprendan cómo utilizarla. Realmente dejen de jugar o dejen para utilizarla en el colegio para fines que sean positivos. Creo que ese sería de nuestra generación el desafío más grande, saber llevar a esos niños la tecnología para que tengamos la menor brecha posible y la utilización sea productiva, ¿no?, para buenos fines. El tema de la ética, el tema de un montón de cosas que se naturalicen.
Well, from my perspective as a newbie in this world of AI technology, I became curious about it last year, and as everybody else using ChatGPT. But I started looking into, as I was having a communication with this agent, I started being curious, not just asking and receiving, really asking and trying to understand what are the best questions to ask. This is why I also believe, since I've been using for 1.5 years, not much, and that the quality of your responses, it's directly related to the quality of your questions. And then we can apply this in our real life, because my job, my daily job, is working with leaders in senior positions, executives, where they have huge problems, real problems, and the score of the problems in most cases, and I believe you will agree with me, is communication, lack of or miscommunication. And I realized that this technology, at least in my environment, I can use it to refine, to explore ways of communicating. And I do believe that the technology can bring us more together instead of pushing us apart. And my final note on that would be that become curious about everything, because the important thing is to be resourceful. We will never know everything, as I said. Like, we cannot, as my husband says always, dance in all the weddings. But you can know the weddings and then decide which one you're going to dance and who can dance in the other weddings for you.
So on the communication side, right, we always thought that asking the right question. My mother's a lawyer, so she was always like, haz la pregunta perfecta. Don't waste time on asking 100 questions. Just think about the question. So communication is key, yes, and how in ChatGPT has taught us this, because it's a reflection of how we are searching and what questions we should ask. So just to kind of close right now a little bit on the gender gap. I live in Palo Alto, heart of Silicon Valley. We still don't have not even 1% of our companies, tech companies, that are led by women. We don't still have investment led by women as much as we wish we could have more. And so we need regulation to do this. And I've been part of that regulation, war and fight. But what is it that you think because Europe has gotten a lot of funding from Next Generation, EU funding, and so on. What do you think are some of the top messages for political people to help us elevate more women, get more women to have contracts, get more women to be able to have a position to do more? What are some of your some ideas that we would love to tell our politicians or even our corporate leaders, because we're all startups in some way or another? How do we get the big folks to think about us? Think about the small business women-owned. And I'll tell you why this is important to me, because we passed legislation in the U.S. that 23% of everything that is being bought by the U.S. government has to come from a small business, women-owned company, a veteran-owned company, a minority-owned company, and an underutilized zone corridor. So that means that's $100 billion of contracts that goes to small businesses. And it was tough, but we got it changed, which is good. So what else can we do here in Europe? Because I believe that the EU has to be stronger today.
An example comes to my mind. I don't know if you know, but it was in news this year. The exchange market of Japan, the CEO decides like 2 years ago that for participating there, you should be at least 2 genders in the C-level, in the board of directors. And they had the most biggest companies that we may think about, like Alibaba, and in 2 years, only 2 years, from 800, the all-male boards, they turn into less than 400. So you just make the rule, and then if you're not aligning with the rule, you're just out. Difficult, but it's brave. You need to be brave to make the change. It's not just applaud.
Bueno, yo opino que el problema no son las compañías o los gobiernos, o sí los gobiernos, pero siempre desde el punto de vista de la educación. Yo soy docente de vocación, enseño desde que tengo 15 años matemática, amo las matemáticas, y di clases muchos años en la universidad, y creo que el problema grave que tenemos es en las niñas. Cuando les preguntas a una niña de 12 años, cuando le preguntas a una niña de 8 años qué quiere seguir y le regalas una computadora, como me sucedió a mí, la vida cambia. Si eso no sucede, cuando le preguntas a una niña a los 13 años, lo que empieza a suceder es que empieza a ver cualquier otra carrera menos matemática o menos ciencia porque no se considera que es lo suficientemente buena. Y también es lo que pasa en las mujeres en tecnología. ¿Por qué no tenemos mujeres en tecnología en paneles? Si nos fijamos, el 60, 70 y hasta 80% son hombres. La mujer se autopercibe siempre con menos conocimiento que el hombre. Yo pertenezco a la subcomisión de Internet de las Cosas en Argentina, hice una encuesta y todos los ingenieros se autopercibían en excelentemente conocimientos de blockchain, inteligencia artificial hace 5 años atrás, mientras que las mujeres decían saber muy poco sobre el tema. Sin embargo, eran doctoradas, mientras que los otros eran ingenieros. Entonces hay una autopercepción de la mujer siempre decreciente, ¿no? Siempre a menos. Habría que preguntarse socialmente por qué es, qué pasa con la publicidad, qué pasa con la educación. Vuelvo siempre al tema de la educación porque creo que lo que nos forja es lo que vemos continuamente, no solo el colegio, sino la publicidad, sino los medios, ¿no? Creo que hay que reforzar eso si queremos cambiar las cosas. Bueno, y si no, solamente seguiremos hablando, pero las cosas no cambiarán.
Tulia, and just to close.
Yes, I'm absolutely on your side and all of you. It's one thing I want to say on those. From the communication side, we need to sit at the same table and really have a conversation because I feel like that we women have needs that men interpret in a different way and vice versa. And the world is there and the change needs to be done together. It's not just us waiting for something to be changed for us and not them just expecting us to adapt to the way it is. So just let's sit at the same table and have a conversation.
Perfect, thank you.
Bien.